If someone were to reconstruct that Thanksgiving from security footage, it would look unremarkable. Turkey passed clockwise, my mother reminding everyone about the cranberry sauce, my father refilling glasses as if that were his primary contribution to the holiday, my younger brother leaning back in his chair, performing confidence the way he always had. The comment didn't arrive as a bomb. It slipped in between bites of stuffing. We were talking about careers, or rather my brother was, his new startup, his new clients, his new vision. I work in compliance and risk management for a regional bank. I sign documents, I verify identities, I make sure things don't collapse. No one asks follow-up questions about that. He laughed at something, I said, something mild, forgettable, and then he tilted his head and added casually, "Honestly, if you disappeared from this world, no one would even notice. You're like background processing." My mother laughed first. My father followed. "He's right," she said. "Don't be so sensitive. He's joking." There's a specific kind of silence that happens when you finally understand your position in a room. It isn't shock. It isn't anger. It's recognition. I put my glass down carefully. The sound was louder than it needed to be. "All right," then I said. No one registered the tone. They thought I was conceding or sulking or doing what I've always done, absorbing. The rest of dinner resumed its rhythm. My brother kept talking. My parents kept smiling at him like he was a solution to a problem no one could name. I left before dessert. Disappearing, it turns out, doesn't require drama. It requires subtraction. By 8 a.m. the next morning, my phone was off. I emailed my supervisor and requested 2 personal days, no explanation. I withdrew enough cash to function quietly. I booked a small room at a motel 40 minutes away, paid in advance, and placed my car in a long-term parking garage near the train station downtown. Then I waited. The first 6 hours were uneventful. My mother called once. I let it ring. My brother texted a meme. By early afternoon, my father called twice, then 3 times. By evening, my phone would have been vibrating constantly if it had been on. The shift didn't happen because they missed me. It happened because of paperwork. My father had minor surgery scheduled that Monday. Routine, outpatient, nothing dramatic, but I was his insurance liaison. I handled the authorizations. I'd done it for years because I understood forms. I also happened to be the co-signer on a line of credit tied to their house, something arranged quietly after my brother's previous vision had drained their savings. At 11:04 a.m., the hospital called to confirm a document that required my signature. It wasn't there. At 1:32 p.m., the bank flagged the line of credit due to a verification inconsistency. At 3:20 p.m., my father's surgery coordinator left a voicemail marked urgent. By 6:08 p.m., they weren't laughing anymore. I learned the timeline later. The details came to me in fragments like witness statements. My mother called my office. My supervisor told her I was out on leave. My brother drove by my apartment. The car wasn't there. By 9:04 p.m., they were calling hospitals. At 11:40 p.m., they filed a missing person report. Authority has a different weight when it's not theoretical. An officer knocked on my apartment door at 1:17 a.m. The neighbor across the hall texted me through social media when she saw it happen. That was when I knew the experiment had matured into something real. I didn't feel triumphant. I felt steady. There's a difference. I slept 8 hours. When I turned my phone on the next morning, it lit up like a distress signal. 57 missed calls, dozens of messages. My brother's tone had shifted first. "Where are you? Call me. This isn't funny. Dad needs you to sign something. Please." My mother's messages were softer. My father's were brief and increasingly formal. At 9:12 a.m., there was a voicemail from an unfamiliar number. "This is Officer Ramirez. We're conducting a welfare check. Please contact the station." There it was, the unmistakable intervention. Not emotional panic, procedural concern. I waited another hour before calling my mother. She answered on the first ring. Her voice didn't sound like it had at Thanksgiving. "Where are you, Seth? Why would you do this?" she asked. Not angry, not yet. Confused. Do what? Disappear? I thought about correcting her phrasing. I hadn't disappeared. I had stepped aside. "You said no one would care," I reminded her gently. I wanted to verify that. There was a long silence, the kind that lived inside me for years. "This isn't a game," she said. "I know," I told her. I would handle the insurance authorization remotely. I logged into the portal from the motel desk and submitted the necessary forms. Within 30 minutes, the hospital confirmed receipt. The bank issue required a verification call. I made it. By noon, the immediate crisis was resolved. The machinery functioned again. I drove home that evening. No one shouted when I walked into my parents' house. The air felt like a room after smoke clears. My brother was at the table, hunched forward, elbows planted, phone face down. He didn't look theatrical anymore. My father stood when he saw me, not dramatically, just stood. My mother crossed the room and stopped a foot away, as if unsure of the appropriate protocol. "You scared us," she said. I nodded. That was the point. My brother flinched slightly. It would have been easy to drag it out, to recite every moment I'd swallowed over the years, every joke framed as personality, every dismissal disguised as affection, but that wasn't why I'd left. "I won't be handling things like this anymore," I said, calmly. "The insurance, the credit line, the paperwork, you'll need to find someone else." My father blinked. "You've always—" "I know." It wasn't revenge, it was boundary correction. My brother cleared his throat. "I didn't mean it like that." "I know," I said again. "That's what made it worse. There are insults designed to wound, and then there are truths people think are harmless because they believe them." My mother's voice trembled slightly. "You matter to us." I studied her face. She believed that, in this moment. Fear had clarified something. But belief born from panic doesn't always survive comfort. "I matter to me," I said. "That's enough." No one argued. The officer closed the missing person case later that night, routine, filed, and forgotten in a database somewhere. But something had shifted in the room. Not loudly, not dramatically. My brother hasn't made another joke like that since, not because he was punished, because he witnessed consequence. The power didn't reverse with applause. It settled quietly into new geometry. I still attend Thanksgiving. The following year, when conversation drifted toward careers, my father asked me about work, not performatively, just directly. My brother listened. No one mentioned the disappearance. But there's a subtle way people look at you once they've imagined you gone. It isn't worship, it isn't guilt, it's awareness. And awareness, once introduced, is difficult to erase. I don't handle their paperwork anymore. They hired a consultant. It costs them more. Sometimes I think about that moment, the glass touching the table, the word "all right." It wasn't a threat. It was an adjustment. They thought I was background processing. They learned what happens when the system pauses. No celebration followed, no grand apology, just a recalibration, which for someone who was once invisible is more than enough.